Okay, now we are streaming. Okay, so you want to open up the Godot application, go to this project manager, and then in asset library projects, you can search for 2D platformer.
Duncan,
Yep.
can we slow down a bit? A lot of people are still walking in.
Okay, yeah, we can slow down a bit. So you want to give it like another 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's only 7:03.
All right, then yeah, I'll just give you 5 minutes to install this if you haven't already.
Bear with me as I figure out how to use the light.
Okay.
What should it be called?
What should what be called?
The one we're looking up.
Oh, so you want to look for 2D platformer, and then this one here would be the one you install.
Okay.
I'll give you like 5 minutes to figure out where that is. Oh, you don't?
Yeah, see?
Does it just say, yeah, you just need the kinematic body one.
Yeah, I figured.
You have to be next to the tower.
Yeah, there's one right there.
Good.
Yeah.
You're leading in the sun?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing half of it, and then the other half is Unity.
So what are we doing today?
We're going over Intro to 2D. So just making some simple 2D games.
And on Godot.
Yeah.
Got it.
When I named the folder, I accidentally named it Cobot.
That's fine.
That was just when I named the folder when I had to export them.
So yeah, you can download this. Find some empty folder. I'm just gonna go into Phillips's file system and make a new folder, I guess. So you want to pick some empty directory. You'll probably need to make a new folder for this. You can put it in documents or wherever else. Install and edit that.
All right. There's a minute to install that.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's 2D platformer, and it should say kinematic body in parentheses.
Should I go ahead and open it?
Yeah, you can open it.
Whoa, I just installed the Godot engine.
Yeah, let's go. First game.
Let's go.
Okay, so who has gotten this open so far? All right, give it a few more minutes.
I still have to install Godot, so.
If you have any problems getting it up and running, just raise your hand and I can come by and help.
So yeah, this is what you need to look for, is this right here with the little robot symbol on it.
And then there we go. So down to just download the main website.
Yeah, the 2D platformer demo. You can download it standard 64 or mono. It's up to you. I'd recommend standard.
What's the difference between standard and mono?
Mono has support for a C#, but it's a larger file. We're not going to be using C# for this. You're welcome to try if you want, but I haven't done it before, so I don't know how it works. But the standard version just uses GDScript, which is a Python-like language.
So if I have the mono version, will I be unable to use Python?
You should still be able to use the base version, I think.
Okay.
I think it's just support for both Python and C.
Right, it just has C# support.
Because I know Python and not C#.
Yeah.
Text it.
I mean, I know it's
Text is
both.
breaking on my. Oh, no, I can put it. Maybe now. That's good. Oh, that's great. There you go, standard version.
All right, who all has it open at this point? Okay, raise your hand if you don't have it open yet. Okay, a couple people. Give it to like 7 or 8 and then just start running through it. We're not going to need to do anything to this project immediately. I'm just going to be talking about it for a bit. and then we'll just take some assets from it in a little bit.
Alright. Open it up now.
So
There you
go open asset library. 2D platform, right?
2D platform.
Yep.
Can I body?
Yeah.
Body.
Mhm.
Demo can match body, download. Okay. Done. And then choose an empty folder.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So if you don't have it installed yet, that's okay. We're not going to be doing anything to this project immediately, just talking about it. So this is the Godot editor. It might look somewhat familiar, pretty similar to Unity. Over on the left, you have your hierarchy, which is your scene of nodes. So you have, this is just a basic node that contains everything. You have your level and your player. And so these, everything in here is a node, and the symbol with a little, I don't remember what the symbol is called, but this is a scene. And you can click on this symbol and open it up here. And now you can actually manually edit this level and see all of the properties of it. So there is a tile map, which is everything here. You can draw on it by using left click and drag. You can delete tiles by holding right click and dragging. And there are a bunch of coins in here, which is also its own object. So in Godot, everything is a scene. It's kind of like a prefab in Unity. It's an object that you can reuse and duplicate anywhere you want. You can edit it individually. So the coin right here, it's just got a sprite and a collision shape so you can run into it. And it's got a very small script, just so that when you touch the coin, it plays an animation and sends a signal to the player to let you know that it connected and the coin was collected. So everything is encapsulated into these little scenes. In particular, the player is one of them. The player has all of these subnodes that's attached to them so that they're all part of the player, and that when you move the player, all of their sub-objects are moved along with them. And so in the script, there's this decently long script that just makes the player move, allows them to shoot, jump, collect coins, and all that. So in action, if you hit the play button in the upper left here, I don't know how loud this is. Let me, oh, it's 90. I'm just going to turn this down.
How to get out of that file?
Oh, yeah. So up at the top, it will open these new tabs. You can click between them and change what scene you're looking at. So you want to be on game, or that's the base scene.
Yeah.
But if you hit the play button, actually, it's going to play the main scene no matter what. So this button will open the main scene. If you just wanted to look at the coin, you could play this, click this button over here, play scene, and that would just show you, oh, this is the player. So this would just be like an empty scene of just the player endlessly falling through the void.
So if you click on the top,
Yeah,
it plays
just the play button here. That will actually open the game. So the other play button plays an individual scene. So you could just play like the player, or if you did it to the level, that would just, it would open the level, but there's no player in it, so it breaks. Because it's trying to reference the player that's up there. So if you play the main scene, we have this little platformer demo robot that can jump around using arrow keys or WASD. Jump, and then you can click or press spacebar to shoot. It's a pretty simple game. You can just run, jump around, pick up coins. These moving platforms will kicker you around. You can shoot these little guys by clicking or hitting space. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we've collected all the coins. That's basically all there is to do in this little demo of the game. So. Yeah, and then the last component to this is the pause menu, which that's just a UI element, which we won't be getting into right now, but just something to know of it is a sub-object also of the game. Now, if we look at the players, yeah, what's up?
So I below thing, how do you like escape from that like scene?
Yeah, if you look up at the top, you can click a different tab.
Oh, I see.
If you accidentally close the game, you can also find it in this SRC folder in the bottom left. You can look at like main here and open game.tscn. It would take you to this tab.
I see. Thank you. Okay. Except for that's up here.
Yeah, all of these scenes they're indicated by TSCN files. So like bullet.tscn, this is the thing that the player shoots. If we were to open that up, we can see the individual bullet that a player shoots. And it has a script, a really simple script that just, it's a rigid body, so it's affected by physics. And all it does is it destroys itself when it hits an enemy.
Where do you get bullet from?
So if that is in the scene here, yeah, just in this objects folder. So just as a reference, this is a way you could open scenes.
That's good. It registers my camera.
Yep, and then you can see all the scripts attached to it by hitting this little button here. The same thing for the player. If you hit this button or hit the script tab at the top, you can see all the code for the player. Now we're going to make one small modification just for an example. So the way that you would register input in Godot, you can go to Project up at the top and Project Settings. And then the second tab up at the top, Input Map. In here, that's where you would add new inputs to do things. So in this case, they added move left, move right, the jump button, and a shoot button. And so they added like support for all different control systems, like I think they have mobile here also, and like a gamepad and just the W, A, and D keys. So just as an example, let's add another action, and let's just call it kill. And we're going to make this the Q key.
I can make it a Q key.
So on the input map, you can type the action here. You can enter the name of your action. So I typed in kill and hit enter. And then you hit the plus sign here. And it asks an physical key. And then it asks you to input a key. So you can just type Q and confirm. Okay, that works. Any key you want. Or it can also be like a mouse button. So if you want to right click and call this, that would also work.
What's the difference between a physical key and just settings?
I don't know. But physical key works.
Yeah.
All right, so then we're going to make one small change to the player script. You can Control S to save that change to the project settings. So if you click on player, or you can also get to there by clicking the scene node here, taking you to the player scene, and then go to the script by clicking script up at the top. Let's just add a small little addition here.
Where is that?
So this is in the player script. So you go to player.gd in the script.
Oh, here we go. I got it.
And then scroll down in the physics process to like around line 93. And we're just going to add a little addition here. So this is just for demonstration. It's not something you have to do, but you're welcome to if you'd like. So I'm going to say if input.is action pressed. And then we can put in that kill we just added. And then in Python or GD script, you use a colon to indicate a function. Didn't need 2 cents at parentheses there. So you use a colon instead of curly braces. And then we can call QFree. So what QFree does is it deletes whatever object you're currently looking at. So if you press the Q button, it will just delete the player. Okay, so these are the 2 lines I added.
You don't need semicolons.
No. So this is Pythonic. You don't need semicolons. It does need to be indented properly though. So there needs to be like 1 tab here and 2 tabs here.
Okay. Oh, colon.
Yep. So you use a colon to indicate a new line of a function there. I can zoom in here.
Yeah, the if has to be in read a little.
Yeah, there has to be 1 tab here.
And the Q has to be into this.
Yes, it has to be indented twice because it's inside of this if statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm still getting So that and then just save it.
Yep. Okay, so if we actually try to run this, if you click the play button, you can run around, play the game as normal, but then if you hit the Q key, the player is deleted. They're just completely gone, and the camera doesn't know what to do because the camera is gone, so it just reverts to the position of 0, 0.
Oh, I know.
And now we're soft lock.
Yep, and now you're soft locked because the player is gone.
Perhaps then we can add a spawn point.
Perhaps so. But what I was planning to do is from here, we're actually not going to continue on the this 2D platformer example. This was just kind of to show you what a project would look like. So from at this point, we are going to create a new project, and we're going to steal some of the assets from this project because they're free and come with it.
Space sensitive, so I have.
So I'm going to go ahead and right-click on the assets folder here and open that in the file manager. So just so the assets are open here, and I'm going to reference them later.
Wait, what are you gonna do?
So you're going to right-click on assets and go to open in file manager. That's just putting it in a window so that I can copy them over later.
Where is this? Oh, open.
Yep, just assets, open in file manager.
Right there.
Yes. Yeah, use right click. Yes.
Right, my computer's yeah, it has a fit whenever it's trying to do some of that stuff. Yeah, I have no clue why, but my computer has a huge fit.
Okay, so once you got this folder open, I'm going to go ahead and open another instance of Godot. So you can close this now once you have this file window open. I'm going to leave it open just in case someone needs to reference it. But then you just want to create a new project. I'm going to call this new project. New project. So this is you want to reopen Godot and like right-click on it, open a new application, or close it and reopen it. Once you have this file window open with the assets.
So quit the editor, then reopen the editor?
Yeah, that would work. I opened Slack. That's not what I meant to do. So then once you've reopened the editor, you can click on New Project. You want to make a new folder here. I'm going to, I guess, fill Phillips's computer with random Godot directories.
And what did you pay for renderer?
For renderer?
Yeah.
You can use OpenGL3.
Okay.
I put a parenthesis in there. I hope that doesn't mess it up.
Can you set a default folder for creating projects?
No, because you need a new folder for each project. So you will need to create a folder and then put it in that empty folder. So then
You take OpenGL3.
you can use OpenGL3. All right, and then once you have a new empty project open, it's going to be 3D by default. You can kind of move around the editor like you would in Unity by holding right-click and WASD. We're not going to be using 3D, but that's just how you would do it. You can right-click on this res folder and open in File Manager like you did with the other project. And then I'm just going to copy over the assets folder and put it into here.
Like just the whole assets folder?
Yep, as we're going to be using some of them.
Oh shoot.
So copy it.
Can you move the original project into like into a new folder or like from the main Godot page?
Oh, like you want to move the project you just created?
Yeah, I mean, or the project you created before. Same thing.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could. But so once you have your assets in the new folder and you re-click on Godot, it should import them into here. And you should be able to see all of them. We click on art, coin. You could just see the coin sprite over here.
You highlight all of them and put them into the import folder?
Yeah. So just the whole assets, you just drag, copy it, and put it into your new project.
Got it.
Dude, you put it. You just put it. Hang on. See, it's just got red.
Did you reload? How did you reload?
How did you get this out? We just moved on to it.
Yeah, make a new project, but I don't know how to copy it.
It's just inside of the parent folder. So not an import, just in the base folder. So assets should be outside of the import folder. It should look like this.
Double click it. Copy it.
That's right.
How do I copy over just the entire assets?
Yeah, just
Assets.
copy it.
Yeah, so what I did is just went over here,
I'm not using
open this in the file manager, and then just like copy the folder and paste it in there.
Hang on, dude. I should go fix this file. Actually, for my last one, so I'll be assets here.
Did you copy the assets folder?
That's what I'm doing right now. So
Okay, so double click that.
yeah.
Alright, go back to the double click the assets.
Yeah.
No.
Right click it.
Right click it.
I just want to copy it. I just control C did.
Okay. So go to control please.
Just on the balance.
Yeah.
I have finally closed.
Hello.
So how do you put like a project you created before into a new folder?
So you don't have to worry about the project you created before right now, just the new project, and you want to just move the assets into here.
Yeah.
It's just importing project this folder into that new project.
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly.
Capability of doing both, but I think it's.
So why do you want to move the folder exactly?
Because I originally created a projects folder, I thought it would be like its own, but like the
Oh, I see.
folder within the projects folder. But
Okay.
instead, it like the project in the projects folder, and now we have to.
You could just rename the folder and then make a new project folder, and then drag your renamed folder into there. So it's fine if you rename the folder that your project is in. That shouldn't cause an issue.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, once you have the assets imported, we're going to go ahead and make a 2D scene where it says create root node, and it should switch the view to 2D. So now you have this empty, endless gray void. Very interesting. You can rename this to main by double-clicking on known 2D and just typing in main. I can spell. And if you save that, you can make a new folder here.
Oh, save scene as.
New folder. I'm going to call it SRC. And then name it here. So if you just Control S, it should give you the option to save the scene. And yeah, I just called it main. You can call it whatever, but that's what I called it. And then I saved it in this SRC folder. You also technically don't need to do that, but just for organization, it's a nice thing to do. So then if you click the play button, it's going to ask you to select a scene to make as the default. You can just say select current. and then it's going to play a scene with absolutely nothing because we haven't added anything yet.
Yep. Where exactly did you say that?
I put it in this SRC folder.
Oh, I see.
So I made a new folder and then put it in there. All right. So now that we have a scene, it's not very interesting because it has nothing. So why don't we make a character? If you click on this plus sign or you do Control A, it will give you the search bar with a ton of different nodes. You can scroll through and you can look through here and try and find kinematic body 2D, or you can just search for it.
Can you rename it to main?
So a kinematic body 2D is what you want to find here. And you can rename that to player if you want by double clicking on the name or right clicking and saying rename. So kinematic body 2D is the type you're looking for.
Thanks.
Now, once you add that, you might see this little warning sign. It says the node has no shape, which means it cannot collide with other stuff because it doesn't have a collider. So on top of this kinematic body 2D, you want to add another node. This one is going to be called collision shape 2D. There's one called collision polygon it might try to pull up. We want to use collision shape 2D just because that's a little easier to work with. You don't need to rename this. It can just be called collision shape 2D. And so now this also has a warning. It wants you to add a shape. So if you go to the right side of the screen, there's this area called the inspector that lets you edit any single component. If you click on this shape where it says empty, right here, you can go to where it says new rectangle shape 2D. And if you click on that, it'll make a collision shape for the player.
Yeah, what did you just do?
Yep, so if you go to player, you can right click on them and add a collision shape 2D. Then you go over to where it says shape in the inspector on the right side of your screen. Click where it says empty right here. And then go to new rectangle shape 2D. And it should make this little blue square where the player is. So if we play this, you still cannot see anything because we have not given the player a sprite. So we can add another child to the player. We click add child node and search for sprite. Yeah.
When you first play, it gives me, please confirm no main scene has ever been defined.
Yeah, you can just say set current. So we'll make the main scene the default scene whenever you hit the play button.
Alright. I see.
So now, once you've added a sprite, we're going to, maybe if we have time, we're going to add animations to the character, but I think we're probably not going to have time for that at this point. So we're just going to use the Godot logo. So you can drag this icon.png at the very bottom of your file system here, and just drag that into the texture here. So you want to click on your sprite, and you'll see this texture area at the top. You just want to drag icon.png into there. Okay, and then once you have that done, if we play the scene, you can now see something. There's the logo way over there in the upper left-hand corner. Making progress. Now, you may think we can just move this to the center of the screen. If you try and click and drag this, it just moved the sprite. It left the collision shape behind, which is not ideal. We want to be able to move the whole thing at once. So, you can Control Z if you did move that. You want to right-click on your player and go down to where it says Save Branches Scene. And then click on that. And it's going to ask you to make a new TSCN file. You can go to SRC and save it in here. So SRC is a folder you can make just to store your coding files in it. So now, you shouldn't see the children of player. It should just be main and player, and you can click and drag player, and it will move everything, including the collision shape. So if you move the player there, and then click play, now they're in the middle of the screen. That's something. Now we can actually edit the player to make it move, because that's something it has been lacking so far. So this open an editor button, you can click on that to look at the individual player scene.
Wait, hang on.
So once you save this as a scene, this little clipboard symbol should show up. And
It says it can't open because it's been moved.
Let's see, what can't open?
The
player scene?
Can't open player dot tscn. This file could have been moved or deleted.
Okay. Do you have the player.tscn in your directory somewhere?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe just try deleting it from the scene and then re-adding it to your main and then clicking that logo.
So re-adding to the main where?
So if you were to you can just, I just hit the power button. I hope that doesn't turn it off. You can delete this node, not everyone, just you in this example, and then hit instance child scene, go to main, player, and it should add a new copy. And if you hit that, it should hopefully load properly.
Hang on. So I should just delete the player entirely?
From the scene, they should still be saved locally on your file system.
Oh, great.
So then if you hit this button here to instance a child scene, you can then add the player there. And they should be in this SLC directory if you moved it there.
It's not there anymore.
Oh, did you delete the player scene?
Yeah, you told me to.
Oh, well, like in your file system.
It might be gone. And plus my file system.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, walk me through it again. So.
Okay, so real quick, the way you'd make the player is just you can make a kinematic body 2D.
Okay.
You can add a collision shape to that. Make a rectangle shape in the shape here. And then add to the kinematic body, you would add a sprite to recreate the player there. And then you can just drag this icon into the sprite.
Okay.
And then you can rename the kinematic body to player and save it as a scene, like that.
So how do you save it to scene?
So you'd right click on your player.
Okay.
Go down to save branch as scene.
Okay, so save branch as scene.
And then it's not letting me do that because I already saved it. But you would be able to save it locally on your disk in your SRC folder.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, so it's working now.
And then create a scene.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, cool. So moving on. Yeah, you're good. Want to make sure everyone's caught up. So now we have a player. The player doesn't do anything right now, so we want to give it something to do. If you click this button up here, attach a new or existing script, it will just pull up this path for you. You can go ahead and click create.
What do you just do?
Yeah, so
You click the button.
you click this button here that says attach script,
Okay.
and it creates a new script for the player.
All right.
And then if you want to get to that script, you can either click script up at the top or click this button here.
All right.
Now we want to make the player move. That should be a good goal. So the first thing we want to do is go to project settings, and we want to add inputs just like we did before with the kill action. We can add a move up, move down, move left, and move right. And I'm going to make these W, A, S, and D. You can make them arrow keys or, I don't know, Y, G, H, J, whatever characters you want. So you can click on the plus sign and press the key you want to move in that direction. So you should have these 4 new actions: move up, move down, move left, and move right, assigned to the key of your preference. All right, so then once you have those, we can make the player move. So there's this commented out function here, func process. We're not going to use that, but we're going to use a similar function called func underscore physics process. And it auto-filled it for me. Inside of here, we are going to call a function called input.getAccessStrength. So the first thing we want to do is make a new variable for the player to keep track of its direction, or which keys you're actually pressing. So I'm going to say make a new variable, var direction. It's Pythonic, so you declare everything with the var keyword. Var direction equals vector2.0. And then in this physics process, we are going to assign direction.x and direction.y. So direction.x is going to be this kind of long string, input.getActionStrength, move right, minus input.getActionStrength, move left. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So what that is doing is get action strength. Basically, it's going to return a value between 0 and 1, basing on whether you're pressing that key or not. So if you're pressing the right key, this is going to have a value of 1. And if you're pressing the left key, this is going to have a value of -1. So if you're pressing the right key, direction.x will be a +1. If you're pressing left, it would be -1. And if you're pressing both, it would be 0. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Direction.x is like, if you press right, it'll be like 1 minus 0.
Yeah.
And then 0 minus 1.
Right. So if you're pressing left, it would be a -1, which means you're moving in the -x direction.
Oh.
So then we want to add another variable. I'm going to add the export keyword to this. So it's going to be export var speed. I'm going to set it to like 100. So what the export var keyword does is if you were to click on your player, you can now see this variable up here. So you can edit it in here. It's like making a variable public in Unity or adding the serialized field tag to that. That's what export var would do, is you can now edit it here. So then once you've set your direction, we can now call this built-in function. This is part of the kinematic body 2D. It's called move and slide. And it's pulling up all of these parameters. We don't really need any of them except for direction times speed. And then once you've done that, if you play your scene, now we can move left and right pretty slowly. I'm going to increase the speed, make it like 300. But we cannot move up and down.
I'm not able to move. I'm not moving either.
Okay, so are you calling move and slide with direction? Your speed should be pretty high. It could be that you're moving like super slowly.
Okay.
So you will need these 2 lines for it to move.
Oh, wait, no, I'm an idiot. But it's fine.
Okay, cool. So then direction.x,
I was pressing these.
we're going to copy over this whole line and then paste it.
Player and my sprite got mixed up. Okay.
And then we can do the same thing for y. So direction.y would equal move down minus move up. Once you've made that change, you can now move in any direction.
No, player's still there.
Now you might notice if you're moving around that the player moves faster in diagonal directions. That is because we need to normalize our vector. So that is pretty simple to do. We would just say direction equals direction.normalized. And then adding this line here.
What does that do?
This makes it so it normalizes your vector so that you don't move faster diagonally, because that would give you like a x and y speed of 1. It makes it so you move the same speed in any direction you move.
And let me check the main.
Okay, so who has not gotten to this point so far?
And I still can't move. Oh.
Well, you need a.
Click on the kinematic body and I'll trust the little icon right there.
I'll give it like a few minutes and then move on from there.
So rename the script. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
What did you just do?
So the last thing I did was direction equals direction.normalized, which will just make the speed constant, even if you're moving diagonally. Oh yeah, direction.y equals move down minus move up for the get action strength.
Diagonal movement being faster than horizontal and vertical is great.
Yeah, no, it's intended.
Speedrun strat.
True. I think it's that explicitly your down diagonal ones are unbounded in their speed.
Okay, does anyone still need to copy stuff from this code? All right. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and go back to our main scene. You can click on the main tab at the top and click 2D. So right now the player can move around, but they don't really have much to do. So why don't we add some walls? So if you click on main and click the plus sign, you can add a tile map. You can search tile map and hit enter. Now I was planning to go over how to create a tile map, but that would maybe take a little while. So instead, we have a tile map that we can just steal from the other the other game. So if you go into assets, art, and tile set, there should be this tileset.tres file. Trace. You can drag it into this tile set here. And then it should give you all of these tiles that you can paint. So this is, yeah. So after you've added your tile map node, inside of art tile set, there should be this file here. And you can just drag that into your tile set to load it. So then once you have that, the tiles don't look quite right. They are like too small for how big these tiles are. So I'm going to undo that. And then there's something we need to change. Cell. This tile set was designed to be 32 by 32 pixels, but Godot by default made it 64 by 64. So we just need to change the size to 32 in the cell tab. You'll need to drop down this tab right here, cell, and then change the size to 32 by 32. Once you do that, you should be able to paint it just fine. And you can like click and drag and fill this with tiles if you want to. I'm just going to make like a border around the player. Add some walls. And then you can right click to erase it. You can hold right click and drag to erase them.
I forgot the
There's also a fill tool you can use. So bucket fill, it's a little weird. Like I could fill this in. I'm not going to do that because then the player could not move. But if you want to like make a cluster like this and then bucket fill, like that's an easier way so you don't have to manually paint all of that. Okay, you also might notice that the player kind of like goes through the wall a little bit. They're like overlapping with it and going behind it. That's because the collider is too small for how big their sprite is. So if you went back to the player scene and clicked on their collision shape, you can like drag the corners of this box to make it line up with this sprite. So you click on your collision shape 2D and just drag this box to be the same size as their sprite. It's not mandatory, just if you want the collisions to look a little better, you could do that. And then the player would no longer go partially through the wall. Yeah, this collision shape 2D, you can adjust the extent here by dragging the corners. In the player scene, if you go here. Yeah.
Maybe I just people getting an error where or not error, but yes, the tile mapping hierarchy.
Or like the.
Yeah.
Basically, that little menu. Oh, right next to the Rand's viewport is not showing.
The inspector?
No, it's between the viewport and the inspector.
Oh, this. Did they add the tile set here? The tile set. Really? Okay.
Select current.
Okay, and then if they click on the tile set here, does this show up?
No. It says add your selected texture on the left hand.
Okay, maybe try going back and re-dragging tileset.trace into here. Really?
Is there some alternative they could do?
It sounds like they might have accidentally deleted like the tile map from here. So you can go maybe back to the old project and copy over that file there if you need another version of it. So back in this folder, if you still have it, you could go to the assets folder and you can find it in here and you could just copy that over.
And so you click on there and you type in the name of
So you look horizontally.
So like moves underscore up. No, you find it down there. You just physical key. I know whatever key you want, you just put it there. Yep. And then press OK. You do that for all the different keys. So down left. Is there some kind of mode they can play around with to build a level besides the tile map?
Let's see. So the time map's still not working?
Yeah, it's the textures won't load now, even.
Okay, well, if you want to quickly build one, you could drag it into here. And then you would click single tile, just select this region, and then like I'll just make a template that should have collision. Okay, are you wanting to start the Unity one pretty soon?
So whatever you recommend.
What do you think?
I mean, did you have like another like couple that's important things you can? I'd say try to keep it to like 10-15 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm thinking we might try to go over animations because it's one of the most important things. So I'll try to do this pretty quickly. So if you go back to your player scene and then click on the player and you go to the sprite, instead of using the Godot logo here, we're going to actually use a character sprite and get them to do some simple animations.
How's on? And ever since then, I can't.
So in the assets art player folder here, there should be a robot demo. You want to click and drag that and put that on the sprite here. So what that's going to do is it makes the whole spreadsheet, and now that's our character. So if we were to play this as is, it'll be fun. So I think that, yeah, this is the ideal player game experience right here, I think.
So click on sprite.
So
Go back to the other.
yeah, in here in this player folder, you want to click and drag robot demo into this texture. But then it's showing every single frame in the spreadsheet, which is not exactly what we want. We can count there are 16 frames across here and 2 down. So if you open this animation tab here, you can change H frames to 16 and V frames to 2. Yeah, so that it tells it like how many frames are in the spreadsheet. So now it knows there are 32 frames total, and it picks the first one. Yeah, so now I'm going to want to make this a little smaller to now match the player. And click on the collision shake and drag it to be the size of the player. And if we played this as is, the player would be like super small now. So real quick, I'm going to attach a camera to the player to follow them. So if you type in camera 2D, so if you click on the player and hit this plus button, you can add a new node, which is a camera 2D. Yep. And then you can click on current here, this checkbox on the right, to set it to be the current camera.
1 second.
Yeah.
Before you go on the camera, how do you are sprites supposed to move? Now after doing the H frames and V frames?
No, so we haven't added the animation yet. It should just be a static frame.
Got it, thank you.
Maybe it's the position.
So if you set current to on, you can then set the zoom to 0.5 and 0.5 just so it's like zoomed in. And then if we played that, the player's a bit closer and it follows them now.
What'd you do for the camera? What are the properties for the camera?
Yeah, so you need to set this current to on and the zoom to 0.5 for each of them. Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat that? Yeah, so you want to know how to do that? You would just, so this should be the Godot logo right now. If you click on sprite on texture, you would just drag this here. Is that working for you?
So I did that once I did something, but you made it
Oh, it got detached, like the sprite?
Yeah.
So it's no longer a child of here? Oh, that's weird. So,
Oh, okay. Try opening an editor.
What's that?
Open an editor, little tree thing right next to it.
Yeah, so. Okay, but in the last few minutes, I'm just going to add a simple animation to make the player run. So on the player, you can click this plus button and add an animation player. If you click on the animation player, this little window at the bottom should pop up. And if you click animation and new, it should prompt you to create a new animation. I'm just going to call this running.
Where is that?
Yeah, if you click on animation player and you add this node to your scene here, then when you click there, there should be a window at the bottom that you can pull up. And then if you click the animation button here and click new, you can type in the name of the animation, which would just be running. Okay, and then what we want to animate is the sprite. So you can click on the sprite, and there should be on the right this frame. It says 0 right now, and there's these 2 little arrows next to it. If you like click up and down, you can kind of see the player like running a little bit. So this is the thing that we want to change in the animation. So you want this to be 0 at first, and then you want to hit this little key button next to it. And it will ask you to confirm and create a restart track. You can just say, sure, create. And so now, this animation has the player starting to run. They don't quite finish, though.
How do you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm really sorry. How did you do that again?
Yeah, so you click on the sprite.
I got that.
And then you click on this little key logo next to frame. And it should be set to 0 at first.
Create reset track.
Yeah, you can say confirm. And then you want to change this value here to 0.1. Or you can just drag here to 0.1 right there. And then increment this to 1. And then you want to hit the keyframe again. Yep. And then you do it again, and again, and again. So now it should play this little animation. If you want to create a frame every 0.1 seconds, and the frame should go up by 1. If you just keep pressing keyframe, it should do it for you. But you should only do it 5 times. Once it gets to frame 5, then it goes into a different animation with the gun.
How do you undo that?
You can click on an individual frame. So like if I accidentally made one here, you can click on it and just hit delete. Or I don't see a delete key here, so I'm just going to right click on it and say delete that frame if you accidentally did that.
Got it. Thank you.
So now it plays this little animation. It is longer than we want it to be though. So there are only 5 frames. So this duration over here should be...
Wait, I'm not getting it.
Huh?
I'm not getting it.
Okay, so you should have 5 frames here. From 0 to 5, if you scroll this along.
Oh, it's scrolled out along. Hang on.
Yeah, or if you hit this play button, it should then play the small animation.
I got it.
And you want to set this duration to 0.5 and then hit this looping button. So now when you play it, the player is running. And we can hit this little button here that says autoplay on load next to the drop-down bar here. So that if we play the scene, now the player is just running.
And what was that auto load button?
Yeah, so if you click your animation player, this button here, that makes it so the animation, so once you do that, the player should automatically start this animation when the game starts.
Yeah.
It's like he's running on air.
Mm-hmm.
Run.
And we're talking like
Run, Forrest. Oh, look. He's moonwalking.
But yeah, animations are super powerful. So that's what we're going to do for here. I'm just going to go do a couple of sample animations real quick to show that they're pretty powerful. So I'm just going to make a new one. I'm going to say fade in, out. And I'm going to interpolate the modulate. You don't need to follow along on this.
Okay.
I'm just going to say self-modulate and then go to 0.1. And I'm going to make this an alpha value of 0. And then I'm going to go back to the sprite. Click the keyframe here. Oops, that's the wrong thing.
All right. So, I mean, just to preface, like next week we're gonna shift from having these weekly workshops and start our game jam. Who all is thinking of participating in that? We're gonna try to basically have each team have like someone who knows what they're doing. So even if it's you've never made a game before and you really want to, it'll be a good experience. But part of the goal of these workshops was to expose y'all to like some of the tools that you'll inevitably use. And so in the Unity 2D thing tonight, that's kind of what I'm aiming to do is kind of demystify some of the things that we may have fumbled in previous workshops or just make things seem a little simple. And so I'm going to try to implement some of the features of a basic side-scrolling game. And if anyone has questions or anything, just raise your hand and I can help assist with that.
Open up a 2D template.
Yep. So we're gonna go to new project and do the 2D core template. Yeah.
Wait.
Now, is it the original project that we made, or are you making a new one?
We're making a new 2D core template project.
It takes a while for you. Takes a while. So sort.
Yeah,
Computer was so
those Godot load times kind of. Yeah, exactly. That's not gonna lie. That's pretty much. Make a Godot product. You're like, oh, that was. It's here. When the entirety of Godot is like a couple kilobytes, it's like slower every time someone mentions it's like 3 bytes. Yeah. It's not 2 bits.
Nothing at all.
One bit of storage.
It takes in the storage, it's on the cloud.
Yeah. There's one single bit, and it does like Morse code to calculate it, so it's only going to store 1 bit. Your CPU is just on computer. You're watching to go, wait, what? I don't know. I got quieter because I thought there was only time to go, but it was a big project. Again, it's not ready to go yet. It could be Unreal though. Alright, what are you telling me now? 30-minute load time. Or just your computer crashes.
I don't know why, but the 2D template takes way longer to load than the 3D. Does that happen to you as well?
My guess is because Unity's default is 3D, so they're making their 3D and then like putting the 2D stuff onto it. Because you can just use, you can just use 3D everything in the 2D environment, right?
Alright.
It's Mario. Oh. Maybe? I mean, again. What? Okay, so it's probably gonna take a bit. On that one, and then there will be different actual versions you will run from there. Just pick one of the ones that says LTF next to it.
You think those are not the best? Okay. It's gonna be a good idea to have both this Godot and one computer.
Go into Sprite and you can make like a square. You get a square sprite in your scene. This is the scene view. It's in 2D instead of 3D. And so right now we just have our main camera, which is what's going to be basically defining the viewport of the game. And we have our square, which just has a sprite renderer. The sprite renderer component just shows some kind of any sprite you have. Right now I just have the default square sprite, and it just has a color attached to it. But I want to change it to my guy.
It's a Mario.
So you put your own sprite in there, and boom, it's Mario. One thing to keep in mind when you're importing sprites into Unity is this pixels per unit value. Well, firstly, if your texture comes in and it's not being registered as a sprite, you can click on the image in the file editor and go to texture type and set it to sprite, 2D and GUI. And once you do that, there's this pixels per unit value that you want to keep consistent. So you basically, if you're going to have a sprite set, you're going to know what things need to be scaled relative to each other. And you can adjust the pixel per unit value to do that. So Mario, he's a little big here, so I'm going to increase the pixels per unit. The larger the pixels per unit, the smaller it will be in the world, which can make sense because that just means how many pixels go for each unit of world space. And any change you make to something, to a sprite here, you've got to click apply. But now he's crazy small.
So when you create a new sprite, you have to make a square, and then drag your sprite in. Mario will be Mario or whoever you pick will be there, and then you just change this to sprite.
You can really make any sprite render. Like, for example, I can just create an empty object here and add a sprite renderer component, and then just put a sprite in, and boom, same thing. I started with the square because it's just easy for people to add things on the fly, but I guess the more straightforward way to do it is you can just add an empty game object, then add a sprite renderer, and then put whatever you want in here.
So which one would you pick? Because
It literally same end. Like it does the same thing.
I'm about to try to delay because I have a glitch on my computer. My file is
All we've done is dragged a sprite into the scene. Like literally the only thing we've done is dragged a sprite like that.
Okay. I finally looked. My screen finally loaded up, so I didn't do.
Okay. Well, if you get any sprite, any image from the internet, you can come into the project and you can just drag it into the scene, and that will create a sprite render object with your sprite.
Now, did you create an object? You said square object.
You can do that. There's many different ways to do it.
So for those sprites,
What's up?
You sent those sprites to the Discord and they can find it.
Sounds great.
Let's go. And go ahead and plug the Discord real quick. Okay. Yeah, wow, it's such a cool Discord. It's such a cool thing to be a part of the Discord.
I'm just gonna. My computer broke hurt, but I can't use my. No wait.
Yeah. I know how to get to the pixels from you.
Grade is breaking on me. I can't see any text.
All right. Both the sprites are in the Discord now. You can download them there and put them in your project.
Set it to 1024. You can set it to whatever. The bigger it is, the smaller the image is going to be.
I don't have time to figure out which one to
Bigger than that, if you want, it's up to you.
Yeah.
was there no?
Okay, so I click and drag so you can find the media sprite just from my project manager into.
You can do that as well. It'll create a component with just that sprite. Yeah.
Yeah, it says sprite render. So you guys repeat this. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like we're creating one there, I can help you out.
Yeah, we're also like this is very simple. All we've done is put a sprite in the scene, and you can just drag the sprite in, and it creates a game object with a sprite renderer. And that's the only thing we have is we have a game object with a sprite renderer. So moving on, we're gonna if we play the game right now, nothing is gonna happen. All we have is a sprite. Absolutely nothing's gonna happen. And so we want to give our character movement. And one of the first things we want is gravity for Mario. He's got to fall in order to be able to jump. Yeah. And so we want gravity. Gravity is physics, so we're going to add a rigid body to this object. Since we're in 2D, most of the things from Unity that are made for 2D just have 2D beside them. They're basically equivalents of the 3D versions. So we're just going to add a rigid body 2D to Mario. And we are going to click on, so this should already have gravity on it. Let's try it out.
It's going to fall.
Yep, there he goes. He's gone. He's gone forever. But no, he's back now. So clearly we need something for Mario to land on. So let's create a 2D object. We're just going to create like a rectangle, like a platform. So just a 2D object, sprite, and a square. And so we want it to be a little wider than that, so we can just go to the scale on the transform for this game object. And we can increase the scale on the x coordinate. All it is a simple scalar. It just multiplies the size of whatever it is you're scaling. And if we go to the game and press play, he's still going to fall through it. And that's because we haven't added anything that would make him interact with this object. We just added the sprite. If you look at the game object for it, it's only a sprite renderer still, which doesn't do any physics calculations, doesn't do any of that.
And did you put that on page?
And so we want him to collide with this platform. So we'll add a box collider 2D to it. If we disable our sprite renderer, we should be able to see the edges of this box collider. And so if we play the game now, well, we got to make the sprite renderer visible. Yep. Good point. We've given Mario physics, but we haven't given him presence. He does not have any boundary. He does not have any collision either. So we'll give Mario a box collider as well. So now he's got this little box around him. We can, on the box collider component, you can click this edit bounding volume button, and we can make it a little more precise, kind of like how we were doing in Godot.
In the box collider component, click the little thing next to edit collider.
Yeah, this thing right here.
Ah, I see. Little funky shape.
Yep.
I see.
Now Mario exists.
Let's go real. I wish I could exist.
And if we press play, he doesn't fall out of the world. He is here. But we can't even move. We can't do anything.
He's got a box collider.
Now would you now sprite
They can move left and right, so you can choose to go to purgatory.
Now, we want Mario to be able to do more than just fall on a platform.
No.
Okay, fine. We'll stop there then. So we're going to have to script it. So I'm going to add, if you go to Mario and you click add component and you type whatever you want to name your script, I'm going to name it player controller. It does not matter what you name it. And then click create and add.
Oh, there's a mustache now.
And so once it's created and added, it's going to appear down here. It's going to appear on your guy, so you can just double click it to open it up. Visual Studio works with Unity, and doing things otherwise is pretty difficult. So
Hang on.
okay, what's up?
It's just loading.
Okay, well this is going to be on the screen, so yeah, you'll be fine. So here's our player controller script. What we want to do is we need a reference to the rigid body, because we're going to move our player by applying forces to their physics. And so we need a reference to the rigid body. So we're just going to say private rigid body 2D RB. We're going to store our reference in there. And currently, if we played the game, this would not have any reference to it. We haven't given it anything. So on start, the start method, what's up?
You can just have one.
Okay. This start method happens whenever you play the game. So we're going to say RB equals get this dot get component
Yeah, I don't click on that.
rigid body 2D. Boom. Now we have a reference to our rigid body. This is a dangerous thing to do if you aren't being careful about where your objects are positioned.
Yeah.
The reason I can call this dot get rigid body 2D is because I know for a fact that Mario has a rigid body on him. So this script is basically saying, okay, let me look through all the components on my game object, and if I can find a rigid body 2D, I'll return that. So if I didn't have this here, that would be a problem. But because I know I have a rigid body 2D, I can safely make this call to populate my rigid body field. Now, in the update loop, we want to move our character. So, but we don't want to move them all the time. So we're going to have to get a little bit of input. So I'll start simple and just say if input dot get key and then key code dot a. So this just input is the name of like it contains all the different default input functions. Get key, what's up?
What's the command, like the thing you have to write in the default section to make it so your commands with?
Using Unity engine.
Okay, because I have that in my own like play controller is just like Y and like the green color that goes.
Right. So this if input key, get key code A, that value is, I'll highlight it. This whole value is going to be true if the key is pressed and false otherwise. And so putting in this if loop, if that's true, we're going to execute code inside here. So if we do that, I want to just add a force, and forces come in a vector2 type. I just want to add this force to them. You do rb.addForce. It asks for a new vector2, which has an x and a y coordinate. Since we're in 2D, our forces are in either this way or this way. And so we just need one value for the x, one value for the y, and it'll add a force based on the value you give it. So if I go back to the editor, I'll show that playing. I might have to increase the force. Yeah, I probably do.
Don't look at the script to open it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just restarted my computer. And what do you know?
Oh, there he goes. So I said if I clicked A, I would apply a very large force to him. And so when I press A, he goes flying. So we'll make it a little more reasonable. We'll say if we press A, we're going to apply a negative X force, so he goes left. We'll also say if input dot get key code T, we'll add another force in the other direction. So now we can go left and right. And hopefully that's a more reasonable value. So it'll come back up in a second. So, whoa, we're all over the place. Yeah, so this is not going to control well. There's a lot of things you can do to make it control well. It's basically just tweaking values, but we're going to go for functionality right now.
Hang on.
So we'll also add a jump.
Hey, can you scroll up just a little bit?
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
So we want our force for the jump to be upward. So we don't need anything on the X, and we'll give it a good like 10 on the Y. It's probably going to be a really high jump, but all right.
Okay. I don't think my RB variable was properly defined.
Did you? Here, does everyone have this script in their thing? Okay, I'll leave it up for a second.
Okay, hang on. Yeah. Private. Oh, great. That is so funny. There you go. Okay, fine. And then on the it's like I think just get this one.
Oh my god.
It's a really high jump, and we're still moving very fast on the x-axis. So gonna lower the values there. One issue we're running into is we can keep jumping forever. We're like Flappy Bird. What's up?
It just doesn't seem to be working for me.
Also, like how the characters filter.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. If you don't want your character to tilt, then you got to go to your rigid body and give it some constraints. So you can freeze the position and the rotation. Since we're in 2D, there's only one rotational axis, but there's two position axes.
What were the two components that Oxford had? Rigid body 2D and collider 2D?
Yep, because we need physics and we need collision. Now, one thing we can do to make this feel significantly better is specify what our force types are going to be. So left and right, we kind of want that to be a slow acceleration, like you would for like a car or something. So we can just type force mode acceleration in here. Another parameter of the what's the issue here?
Force mode 2D dot acceleration.
Yeah.
It's just they won't.
Thank you. Okay. And the jump is more of an impulse.
Okay, well, what's the last one? Voice break and stuff. I mean, it's mean of death again. You've got to be the first machine over here. Unless you just one of these, we're gonna ask you in under RP.F. Yeah, the one capital D debug, capital L log. There you go.
Okay.
Stop. In parentheses. You have got to be also expectation to be like, yeah, space.
But that's fine for now. So why don't we try our hand at adding some meaningful interactions to our scene? What's up?
I'm sorry, I'm just getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, I'll pull up something, just give me some, it'll give me like exactly like how we started, meaning I lose control in the process.
What pop up?
So sometimes when I click on the script thing, it'll give me something like busy working because it's like I think trying to figure it out. But I left it running for like 5 minutes at a time and never do anything.
Okay. A circle sprite here.
It's probably me not having something.
This is gonna be my coin, so I'll make it yellow.
So I'll need to.
So we've got a coin in the scene. We also want to make it where you can collide with this coin to pick it up. So add a circle collider 2D to it. And now we want this coin to do something when we hit it. And so we'll add a coin script. Okay. So now we've got our coin script, and we want this coin to, for now, just disappear whenever we touch it. So we can say on collision enter, destroy this dot game object. That's all. That's the only thing we need. So now, if we go play the game, and we go over here to collect this coin, something. All right, we can fly around. Yeah, so we can fly around, and so that's the thing is we don't want Mario rotating, so we can go to his rigid body and click constrain him on the Z-axis, unless you do want him rotating it, and you can just not do that. Here's the problem: is you need to have on collision enter 2D because we're in 2D. Works exactly the same, but
collision need to be collision 2D.
Yes.
Yep.
Already have that number.
If you type on collision 2D and let it autofill, it'll give you that already.
If you have IntelliSense set up.
Yeah. Otherwise, copy that.
Does coin need a collider?
Yes. Otherwise, it won't know when it's colliding with something.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we probably need to add box collider.
Yes.
You could have a box collider, a circle collider. I put a circle collider since it is a circle, but you can have whatever collider you want.
Okay, so circle collider, and you need to create a script for that.
Yep. I just made this coin script.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And then have an object for every frame.
Okay. Was the code that you added to the player controls actually like the army add ready stuff? And by the way, after I added some of that stuff, you did not use it.
Well,
Does
does it have a rigid body?
Okay, so let's see. Yes, it has a rigid.
Okay, Jack, help him out. All right. So now that we have this coin script, you can go in here and collect coin. Boom. We're still flying around, but that's fine. Now we want to have an enemy as well. We'll make him red.
Yeah, I do like.
Now we can we'll go ahead and give the enemy a collider as well. Circle collider 2D.
Wait, maybe I had
Enemy is a rename circle.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
Or is there an enemy?
No, it's just a rename circle.
Input.get key equals C code.a. RB.add equals vector 2.
The camera.
You can scroll backwards.
See, here's the issue. I've been trying to have.
So,
Never mind. I got it.
Game development was never intended for use with a trackpad.
Yeah.
You got to get mouses.
But I left it in my dorm, so. And then in quotations, like, hey. Yeah, I
All right. And so to make the player, we're going to, so one way you can do collision, like things that happen on collision, is you can do it in the object, like we did with this coin. But you can also detect it from the player. So we can go on the player and give him the same on collision enter 2D. And we can make him react to this. So we want to, if we collide with an enemy, we want to die. That's to do. So we have to think about what behavior we want when we die. And so the behavior we're going to have when we die is we just reload the scene. We just start back at where we basically start the level over. And so that means we have to do some Unity scene management. So we'll have to add this using Unity engine.scene management tag. And so when we collide with the player, we want to say get the scene manager. This manages all the different scenes you have in your project, and load scene, and we're just going to say 0. So here, I'll move it up so the layer we have the enemy on. Now we've specified that we only want to die if the game object we collide with is on layer 3.
Yeah, I just put it in the yeah, just like copy it, Control C.
Is it backward to do that?
Yeah, I faced through.
So
Dragon and Unity.
when I said just have
Oh,
script in there.
the build settings. What did you do with the build setting?
So all I did was make sure that my scene is in the scene manager. Should be by default if you haven't changed anything.
Is there original audio on it?
No.
So I'm just phasing through it.
Yeah, I'm also busy.
Well, okay. That means you're not colliding with it. So did you give it a collider?
That's what I.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't give it a collider. So I object.
So yeah, it's a lot of.
Maybe you can just scale it on.
I think when you take a step back and
The add component button in the red there. And you want to add a rigid body 2D. And then you want to add a box collider 2D. So scroll down. Add component. And add a box collider shooting. And then scroll down again and add a script. So you can just type in whatever you want to name it. Layer here. Okay. Yeah, delete that. Yeah, the script.
So what did we do with the whole layer thing? Like, just explain it to me a little bit.
So basically, we wanted to die when we collided with the enemy,
Falling down.
but if we just said die whenever we collide with anything, then we're going to die if we collide with the coin, we're going to die if we collide with the ground, and that causes problems. So what we want to do is specify a layer for the enemy so that we know when we're colliding with that in regard, as opposed to everything else in the scene.
Why couldn't you just say like collide with specific game object?
You could, but the thing is, if we're making this game and we have like 100 different enemies in this game, we don't want to have to check. Yeah, that's not going to work well. So it's a lot easier to give the enemies, like put them on layer 3, for example, and then in our code, on collision enter, we just say if the collision is equal to layer 3,
And you put that on the player.
then we die. Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's what. Okay, I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Does your enemy have the scripts? No, it doesn't. You don't use scripts. Okay.
Okay. If you're looking to do art in the game jam, there's a lot of cool tricks for integrating it and working with the Unity animations, which is something I wanted to get to, but that's not something we ended up having time for. But lots of resources available. Don't feel intimidated, and hopefully all y'all feel welcome and want to have fun coming to the jam next week.
We're gonna pull up that